Councilmember Juarez, you are recognized in order to address the proclamation proclaiming October 2025 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Seattle.
So the first proclamation is Domestic Violence Awareness Month in Seattle. I'm just going to read the first section. Whereas the National Domestic Violence Awareness Month was first established in October 1987 to foster dialogue, strengthen survivors' protections, educate leaders, and encourage public action against abuse. And I have a little bit more on the second proclamation. The second proclamation is a little bit more intentional in dealing with and discussing our immigrant population. And it starts out as, whereas Seattle is strengthened by its diverse immigrant and refugee communities whose cultural, social, and economic contributions enrich the life of our city. And it basically goes into the domestic violence and gender-based violence that happens in these communities that often are silent for different reasons, and I'll let, again, our guests go into that. And so, therefore, the mayor is going to declare, as well as Seattle City Council, that Domestic Violence Awareness Month is this month in Seattle. And again, it states and ends with recognition of the disproportionate impact of gender-based violence on immigrant and refugee communities, including women, LGBTQ+, and gender-diverse survivors in Seattle. We urge all residents to stand with survivors, raise awareness, and help build a future free of violence and fear. I just want to add a few other items and thank my colleagues for being supportive here today. We all know that you can judge a society by the way they treat their women and children, and laws and policies and protections. And that isn't just the United States, but it's globally. And I think I read a United Nations Charter issue about that. And I'm not, throwing shade on other countries, but I think we can all agree that how a society treats its women and children and affords laws and protections really is a measure about, I know I probably shouldn't say this, but women's rights are human rights. And I didn't coin that, as you know, Hillary Clinton did, but I always believe that, and I'm glad that you brought this forward today. This city, we went to Washington, D.C. on the city's behalf to advocate for the Violence Against Women Act. And it has to be renewed every 4 years, and that was really important nationally to do. And it was originally enacted in 1994. We went back to make sure it was reauthorized 4 years later, and it was reauthorized in 2022, and it will expire again in 2027. So again, we will be in Washington, D.C. I won't be here, but I'm sure one of my colleagues will, to make sure that we have that, because we do get funding for that. But more importantly, it keeps women, children, and the issue of domestic violence in the forefront. And I think that's really important. And so with that, I just want to thank you guys for coming and getting us the proclamations, particularly the Women's Commission and the Mayor's Office.